Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over here at JaniesSweets, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Fixes, where you ask me your cake questions and I do my best to answer them for you. So let's get started with the topic today. Now, this topic has been highly requested, and it is about pricing. Now, pricing is extremely difficult to determine, especially when you are new to the business, but I have come up with a few tips and tricks that will definitely help you out, so definitely stay tuned if you want to learn how to do it. Now, before you watch this video, click on the description box below where you will find a PDF that I came up with for you guys, where it lists everything that I'm about to talk about, so that you have something a little bit more visual, so that you're not lost in the conversation. Now, how do you figure out pricing? There are different ways to do so. There isn't really a right or wrong way. It's really whatever works for you, but none of the traditional methods have worked for me. And one of them is asking around. Now, when I first started out, I asked my friends, I asked my family members, how much would you charge, or how much would you pay for this cake? Another way is asking around in the business. So you can ask other people who bake, home bakers. You can ask at different bakeries and different cake forums and stuff like that. Now, the reason why I don't particularly like this method is because it definitely does not give you a fair chance, because everybody get their supplies from different places. Some people have access to wholesalers, some people don't. Different states that you live in, especially if you're asking in cake forums, that's definitely not accurate, because in different states the prices of merchandise are definitely different, and you want to make sure that you are being fair to yourself and to your client and your demographics. Now, that's not to say that you cannot ask around and get an idea. I definitely did that at the beginning, but you also want to make sure that you're determining the prices for you and for your clientele. And now, the most popular way to charge for cakes is definitely per serving. And now, per serving is great because then it gives the customer a visual. It tells them, okay, if you want a cake for this many people, it's going to cost you that much. This many people, it's going to cost you this much. Now, it is great, and it is definitely a way that I started charging when I first started in my baking career. But I found that it was actually less accurate than the per hour method, because at the end of the day, what I found would happen to me a lot is a client tells me, I want a cake for 20 people, and now you figured out that for some reason you want to charge $5 per serving. Now, for 20 people, it would cost the client $100 for that cake. Then the client turns around and says, well, actually, I don't want it for 20 people anymore. A few people canceled. Make it for 10. Guess what? You've just sliced the cost in half, because if you stay true to what you've said, that it was per serving, you've just charged your client $50 for something that you would have charged them $100 for only 10 more people. I don't understand how that works for a lot of people. It does not work for me, because what I figured is that it takes me the same amount of time to make a cake for 20 people than it does for 10 people, for 5 people, for 7 people, because at the end of the day, it takes you the same amount of time regardless of how big the cake is. So what I have come up with is kind of like a middle ground, the best of both worlds type of thing. And what it is a cost and timing method. So I'm going to show you right now how to come up with that. So let's get started. So in your description box below, you will find a link to download this Excel document. You could also download the PDF if you want to follow along with me right now. And what this is a cake cost calculator, and it will give you step-by-step how to come up with a fair price for your customers. So the first thing that you do is you first need to figure out how much one batch of your recipe costs. So that needs to be listed out. Every single ingredient that you use needs to be listed out here. What we're going to say today is that our person bakes from a box mix. So what they're going to need is a cake box. They're going to need some eggs. They're going to need some oil, that's in cups. as well as some water, and that's also in cups. Now, what you need to then figure out is how much of that you need to make one batch. So you need 1 cake box, 3 eggs, 0.5 cups of oil, and just 1 cup of water. I'm going to actually black everything out so that it does not confuse anybody. You then need to figure out how much each of these cost, right? So for the sake of rounding now, we're just going to say that everything here costs $4. But obviously, you are going to have to do the math and figure out how much all of your ingredients cost, because you may not be using a cake box. You may be using flour, egg, butter, and blah, 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 blah. So you list everything, you list how much you're using, and then you are going to figure out how much that costs. Once that is done, you also need icing. So your icing is consisting of butter, that's in pound, and powder sugar, also in pound. So you need 1 pound of butter and 4 pounds of powdered sugar to make your icing. And you figured out that this is going to cost you $3, right? Then fondant. Let's just assume that you are buying your fondant and you're not making it from scratch, right? So you're just going to say that you need a small box of fondant to cover your 1 batch of cake, and you just need 1, and it costs you another $3 here, right? So you right off the bat figured out that it will cost you $10 out of your pocket to make 1 batch of your cake. Now you go, wait a minute, how much does 1 batch feed even, right? So you need to bake a batch and then see what pan you've baked it in and how tall it's going to be, etc. I find that my 1 batch is good for 3 7-inch cakes, right? So I'm just gonna assume that this is 7-inch right here. Now, the next thing you need to do is figure out how many people 1 batch will feed. So I'm just going to say that it feeds 15 people. Now that I've figured that out, I need to know how much in cups, how much batter 1 batch will give me. Now that's super easy. You make a batch, you dump it into a liquid measurer container, and it will tell you exactly how many cups is in that batch. I know that 1 batch gives me 5 cups of batter. Why is all of this important? You're going to see in a second. Now that I've figured that out, I'm then going to figure out my wage. So we're just going to assume that this is $10 you want to get paid, or that your minimum wage is $10. You're just going to leave it like that. So you need to factor in your baking time, your icing time, how much time it takes to fondant the cake, and then how much time it's going to take you to decorate the cake. Now these 3 here are very easy to figure out. So we're just going to, for the sake of round numbers, say that it took you an hour to bake the cake. Now you're going to ice the cake. See how much time it takes you to ice the cake smooth. That took you an hour. Now about your fondanting time. How much time did it take you to cover the cake in fondant and give those crisp and nice edges? That took you another hour. Guess what? It just took you 3 hours to make this simple cake. Your price is going to be $30. If you go up there, you can see that your total cost has increased to $40. Now the customer tells you, wait a minute, I don't want the cake to be plain. I want to add decorations to it. I just want you to put a flower on top of it. Okay, that's fine. It's going to take me an hour to make that flower. So now your price is $40 to make it. Bam, the price increased here. And then the customer comes back to you, wait a minute, I don't want just 1 rose. I want the cake cascading with roses. I want about 10 roses. Okay, that's fine. It'll take me another 5 hours to do. Bam, $90 for the cake. I'm just going to open this up. Now you know that you already have 1 batch, and that gives you a pan size of 7 inches. So you know you are going to offer 5 inches, 6 inches, 8 inch, 9 inch, 10, 11, and 12, right? And you already know just by using the Wilton chart or whatever chart that you use that a 5 inch feeds 5 people. This one feeds 10, This is 20, 25, 30, 40, and 50 people, right? So now what you need to figure out is how many batches you need to fill all of these pans. Now that's very easy to do. All you do is you fill up these pans. So I'm just gonna take the 9-inch for example. You grab a 9-inch pan, you fill it up 3/4 of the way with water, right? Then you dump that water into a measuring container. That is how many cups of batter it's going to take to fill up a 9-inch pan. We figured out that it took 3.5 cups to fill the 6-inch. It took 6.25, 12.5, and 15 cups. Now to figure out how many batches you need. So you know that one batch is 5 cups. How much is 15 cups? If you divide 15 by 3, that gives you 5. You do the same calculations and you're going to figure out how many batches are in each of these size pans. So the bride tells you that she wants a 3-tier cake. The first tier is going to be a 7-inch, the second tier is going to be a 9-inch, and the other one is going to be an 11-inch. So once you have figured out how many what size pans you're going to need, which is the 7, the 9, and the 11, this is going to do all the calculations for you. You already know that it takes you, you know, twice as much or 2.5 as much batter to make an 11-inch. It multiplies this number by 2.5. This is how much cake boxes you're going to need. You're going to need 2.5 boxes just to make an 11-inch pan. So on and so forth. Same for your icing, same for your fondant. It will generate a price right here. Now you are going to again figure out how much time it took to bake all of these pans. So again, I'm just going to say 1 for everything. Now the fun part begins. You're going to figure out how much time it's going to take you to decorate. Now she wants the first tier very plain, nothing on it, just maybe some polka dots, right? And you say, you know what, it's not going to take me any time. It's just going to take me maybe an hour. You place an hour here. Now the second tier, she wants a whole bunch of stuff on it. She wants bling, she wants luster dust, and all the, you know, all that jazz. So it's going to take you 4 hours to make, no problem. The third tier, she wants minimal design. It's not too crazy, but also it's not very simple. So it's going to take you about 2 hours to make. Bam, right here. You go up here. 50, 85, 75, that is the cost of your cake. I get $210. This cake will cost your bride $210 to make. Now, a lot of you might think this is very little, but in actuality, you have made it fair for you because you have inserted your time, and you have made it fair for the customer because you have also covered all of your costs. So I hope this made sense. Now back to the video. So how do you figure out pricing? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. I don't have a direct number that I can give you and tell you this cake costs that much, because this is something that you're going to have to do the work and figure out. What I do have is a formula that will work if you put it to use. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you would like to see my breakdowns for everything and what we just talked about in a PDF format, I will also link that for you guys below so you can follow along, and you can watch the video again if you have missed anything. I'm thinking that next week I want to talk about deposits, you know, cake contracts, cancellations, and stuff like that. So if you are interested in learning about that, give this video a thumbs up and let me know again below that it is a go for next Friday, and I will be happy to make a video for you guys. So as always, you guys take care. Love you. I'll talk to you next time.